You're overthinking your life into a standstill. You've got the experience, you've done the research, and you've analyzed every career path until your brain is fried. Yet you're still stuck. Meanwhile, there are people out there who are as sharp as a butter knife who don't really understand how inflation works or who believe every conspiracy theory on the timeline. And they're making 10 times what you make. We've been taught to take advice from successful older generation, but we've been looking at it all wrong. We shouldn't be following their directions, yet we should be stealing their audacity, their bravery. So the reason I am talking about this topic is because I had a conversation last night with my mom and her boyfriend. And, he was going into the typical, Gen X spiel about how you should go to the corporate path instead of finding something that is local or simple. And I was listening to him. We had some great points, but then for some reason our our conversation devolved into how even $250,000 a year is not enough to live in South Florida, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. And we crunched the numbers, and mind you, that my mom and her boyfriend were a little hammered, so they were kind of on the lesser side of logic. And yeah, so I was easily able to prove to them that $250,000 a year salary is more than enough for anyone living in South Florida. And then the conversation devolves again into how, because like after we did all the expenses, he was like, "What about burial?" I'm like, "What?" Like I understand that funeral expenses are a thing, but nobody is really thinking about that and putting money aside. And but he was like, "No, no, no, burial is something that you have to focus on." And then like we just got into this whole deranged argument that just didn't make any sense. And you know, I bring this up because you don't have to be a genius to be successful. You just have to be too stubborn to realize you're supposed to fail. I watched a man who was incredibly talented at sales argue points that were objectively and factually insane. But here's the thing, in the real world, correctness doesn't pay the bills. Conviction does. So while you're in your room overthinking the market or the right time to start YouTube, which is me, and the butter knives, they're the ones closing the deals because they're not paralyzed by the possibility of being wrong. They just move. The older generation is terrified of a world that they don't actually understand. And it's a world that honestly nobody understands. When they argue that $250,000 is enough to live on, they're not really talking about math. They're talking about fear. They see the changing landscape and the corporate hellscape and they panic, pushing us toward safe jobs in corporate or, in my case finance, because that's what made sense in 1980. But if they can make their lives work while being that disconnected from reality, imagine what you can do while actually being connected to reality with the actual data and a bit of modern leverage, which is, in our court. The ball is in our court. We have AI, and I feel like we can use it to most of its potential, and we just have the brains. We have the means to move through today's society with the technology that we were given. It's time to stop taking their advice as gospel and start and take it with a grain of salt. And better yet, it's time to really challenge what they're saying. If the world is as dysfunctional as they say, then the rules are all made up anyway. You need to stop being reasonable. A reasonable person doesn't think that they can make a full-time living on YouTube or skip the corporate ladder, but reasonable people are also the ones working the jobs they hate for the people who aren't as smart as them. And you need to start being a little bit more delusional. And I had this aha moment that intelligence, it's a tool for managing wealth, but audacity and delusional bravery is the tool for creating it. You've been using your brain to find all the reasons why a plan won't work: the economy, the competition, things going on in the world with Iran. But the people you're jealous of, they aren't smarter than you. They just don't have that internal voice telling them to shut up and play it safe. And that's the scary thing about being intelligent. You have so much that you're thinking about that you can't even let your delusional voice speak for even just a second. And I feel like the people who are delusional, they're successful because of them. And if a man who's, in my opinion, is as sharp as a butter knife when it came to this conversation, can cut through the world and get his, you absolutely have no excuse to keep sitting on the sideline. And honestly, this speaks to me too. For weeks, I've been really just sitting here thinking about, dang, what if this YouTube thing doesn't work out? But honestly, at this point, I'm going to make it work out because I'm delusional. I know that this is going to work out. And the fact that I'm sitting here thinking about it, about uploading when I'm not even getting any viewers anyway, is just kind of insane to me. I just want to upload because this is something that I like to do. And if I build something with it, it is what it is. So if you're sitting down and you're just really stuck on what you want to get started, just do it. The older generation, it's either you make your path or they will make it for you, trust me. And after having that conversation with my mom and her boyfriend, I most certainly don't want them forming my path for me. I'm going to make the most of it, and I hope you do too.